Let's be honest, folks, 2018 wasn't a bad year for the Nintendo Switch, but I don't necessarily think it was a great year, especially when you compare it to 2017. 2017, the Nintendo Switch stormed out of the gate, and there were so many awesome games, whether you're talking about first-party games like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Splatoon 2, or third-party games like Doom and NBA 2K18. There was definitely something for everyone in the year of 2017, and while 2018 definitely had some highlights for the Nintendo Switch, it was a bit of a slower year, let's be honest. But I think 2019 is gearing up to be the year of the Nintendo Switch. The year that the Nintendo Switch really starts to completely explode. Because there are so many games coming out to the system. There are so many interesting things going on with potential hardware revisions. And of course, you have to look at the gaming landscape as a whole in 2019. I think it's safe to say that 2019 is the year of the Nintendo Switch. And in this video, I want to explain why I feel that way. So sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's talk about how 2019 is the year of the Nintendo Switch.
Hey, RGT 85. Hey, Sean.
Oh my God, it's Stevie Richards! So first off, I want to go about this in three different segments. Basically, first we're going to talk about the video game landscape in 2019, we're going to talk about the potential hardware revisions for the Nintendo Switch in 2019, and then we're going to talk about the most important thing of 2019, and that is simply the game. So first off, looking at the video game landscape of 2019, this is definitely the prime target for Nintendo Switch to sort of attack the video game industry and sort of transcend what is going on right now. Because you have to look at what the other companies are doing. When you look at Sony and the PS4, a phenomenal 2018. The PS4 has been a phenomenal system since it's come out, but 2019 is definitely the slowing down of the PS4. We do know about some awesome games that are potentially coming out, like The Last of Us 2 and Death Stranding, even though nobody knows what the hell Death Stranding really is. But beyond that, we don't really know anything new or surprising that Sony is bringing to the table for the PlayStation 4 in 2019. And when you look at the Xbox One, it definitely had a bit of a rocky 2018, and they are sort of looking towards the future. And I think that's one of the most important things about both Sony and Microsoft in 2019. I really foresee them looking towards the future, the PS5 and the Xbox One 2, more so than the consoles that are on the market for them right now. Because let's face it, the PS4 has sold, so many systems, and it's like, how many more can it really hit? Is there really a reason and a major drive to push people towards the PS4? Is there really a major reason and drive to push people towards the Xbox One in 2019 when there's going to be some sort of announcements? I don't necessarily think you're going to see the successors for these systems in 2019. I think the earliest you'll see them is in 2020, but there's always going to be that sort of lull. There's going to be that transition period from the PS4 to the PS5, from the Xbox One to the Xbox One 2, or whatever the hell they're going to call it. So this is definitely a target for Nintendo. I think Nintendo realizes that, and that's why they're beefing up their lineup so big for 2019 in terms of both first-party and third-party games. Another thing you have to look at is the potential Nintendo Switch revision that has been heavily rumored, and there's a lot of different things going on with this. There's definitely two different camps when it comes to this system, because some people feel like it's going to be a Nintendo Switch Pro, or some people feel like it could be potentially a Nintendo Switch Mini. And honestly, I'm definitely in the camp of the Nintendo Switch Mini. I think the Nintendo Switch sort of could use a price drop, especially if they want to be super aggressive in 2019. Yes, it is definitely selling at the $300 price point. You just need to look at this past weekends for the Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals, and the Nintendo Switch was one of the hottest selling items. It was Nintendo's #1 selling console of all time during that time frame, superseding the Wii, which was an absolute phenomenon in video gaming. So the Nintendo Switch is definitely selling well, but I think if you introduce another SKU, you could really help boost those sales and really start to bring in more people, especially if one of those SKUs is a lower price SKU. Now, of course, if they do go the Nintendo Switch Pro route, which would be a more powerful system, obviously the graphics could be upscaled when docked and things like that. You could lower the price of the standard Nintendo Switch to sort of be that lower price SKU, and I think that would make a lot of sense because these sort of, mid-generation refreshes seem to be working pretty well. It's been reported that the Xbox One X is actually selling pretty good, and people are actually surprised with how well it's doing. So a mid-generation refresh, 3 years into the system, maybe it does sort of make sense for the Nintendo Switch. Maybe it will bring in more Nintendo Switch owners, or have Nintendo Switch owners upgrade, or simply pick up a second system. Because let's face it, the Nintendo Switch is something that's supposed to be faced or played at home and on the go. So if you had one dedicated for home and you had one dedicated for on the go, you had a more powerful system for at home and then something for on the road, maybe it would work. Or in the opposite, you have your standard Nintendo Switch at home and you have your Nintendo Switch Mini or whatever they decide to call it to go with you on the go. Either way, I think a mid-generation refresh isn't a terrible idea. It's not something that is mandatory. It's not something that's going to have its own library, even though some people seem to think that. That's just absolute crazy talk. It will not have its own exclusive games, but it's definitely something that Nintendo is talking about. It's definitely something that's being reported, and definitely something that's a real possibility. Now, of course, the biggest thing about 2019 and why I feel the Nintendo Switch is absolutely going to just be phenomenal in 2019 is simply the game library. It's now December 2018, and the game library for 2019 looks absolutely crazy. Whether you're talking about third-party games or first-party games, there are so many games coming to the Nintendo Switch. It's like I'm going to need to sell a kidney or plasma or something in order to have money to afford all these games. Simply looking at the third-party lineup for Nintendo Switch games, there's a lot of stuff coming in the pipeline that is going to be taking up your wallet. You, of course, have games like the Onimusha remake, which absolutely looks so good. I cannot wait to play that in January. You have games like Vampire, which is something that I don't think many people expected to come to the system. It was really fun on the Xbox One, and I'm looking forward to playing it on the Switch. You have the Resident Evil games coming. You have Resident Evil HD, you have Resident Evil 0, and Resident Evil 4 coming to the Nintendo Switch. And these are big games. These are games that people are going to buy because Capcom seems to be doing a decent job with their Nintendo Switch ports. You, of course, have all the Final Fantasy games coming to the Nintendo Switch. Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 9, Final Fantasy X2, Final Fantasy 12 HD, Crystal Chronicles HD. Like, there's so many Final Fantasy games coming to the Nintendo Switch in 2019. It's absolutely mind-blowing how much stuff is coming. And that's just stuff we already know about. It's not stuff that hasn't been, not announced yet, because you know how these companies do things. They announce a game and then 4 or 5 months later, boom, it's on your Nintendo Switch. You also have Dragon Quest Builders 2. You have the Grandia 1 and 2 HD remaster. And then in terms of new games, you actually have some good new games coming out as well. A lot of people are expecting Doom Eternal to come out in 2019, and that's already been confirmed for the Nintendo Switch. Bethesda and id Software have said that the new Wolfenstein is coming to the Nintendo Switch. You, of course, have NBA 2K20, which is just a phenomenal series and really pushing the boundaries of what the Nintendo Switch can do in terms of realistic graphics that will be coming out. You have the new Shin Megami Tensei game. That game's been very quiet, and I could definitely see that becoming a sort of cornerstone for Nintendo Switch owners. You have Daemon X Machina coming to the Nintendo Switch, which is actually a Nintendo Switch exclusive that looks absolutely kick-ass. You have Town. You have just so many games that are coming to the Nintendo Switch from third-party developers, and these are just the games that we know about right now. I'm sure I'm missing a ton of games, but just doing my research, these were the games that sort of stuck out to me as games that are going to sell really well on the Nintendo Switch. And yes, some of these are ports of games that are available on other consoles, but the fact that you could bring your Nintendo Switch with you and play all these Final Fantasy games and play all these Resident Evil games anywhere you go, and then play games like Doom Eternal and NBA 2K20, it's like, damn, this is a really, really cool system. But of course, you have to look at Nintendo, because Nintendo games tend to sell Nintendo hardware. And when you look at what's been announced for 2019 or potentially coming out in 2019, it's absolute insanity. It's absolute insanity. It definitely rivals and possibly exceeds 2017 for Nintendo's lineup. So of course you have new Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, whatever. People are gonna buy that game though. It's a game that people love. 2D Mario games always sell. So that will end up selling like hotcakes. You, of course, have Animal Crossing. We don't have many details on Animal Crossing, but Animal Crossing games sell. Animal Crossing New Leaf was a huge seller on the Nintendo 3DS. People love Animal Crossing games. Look at how well the mobile game did as well. So Animal Crossing is going to sell immensely. You, of course, have the new Fire Emblem game, which I think looks really cool. A consoleized Fire Emblem specifically designed for the Nintendo Switch. I think that game is going to be really fun as well. Yoshi's Crafted World, another sort of, smaller game, but I think it's a game that looks really good. It has a beautiful graphical style to it as well. You have Bayonetta 3. Is Bayonetta 3 going to release in 2019? I definitely think you will see Bayonetta 3 in 2019, probably as sort of a holiday game. You of course have Luigi's Mansion 3, which is supposed to be coming out in 2019. Once again, another huge game, another big Nintendo first-party IP that a lot of people are looking forward to. And then you have the granddaddy of them all, Metroid Prime 4, coming out in 2019. And once again, those are just the games we know about. Of course, the Metroid Prime Trilogy HD collection for the Nintendo Switch has been heavily rumored. There's a lot of rumors about Skyward Sword HD coming to the Nintendo Switch. These are just games that have been announced. And you know Nintendo likes to sneak up and then sometimes release games in the same year. You know, Reggie said in a recent interview that they like to announce games 6 months to a year before they are released. Well, 6 months, we're not even in 2019, so who knows what else is going to come in 2019. But I think with the video game landscape of 2019, with things like the PS4 and the Xbox One slowing down and no new hardware coming out for those systems as far as successors for the systems, when you look at the potential for a mid-generation refresh for the Nintendo Switch, and when you look at all of these damn games, I think the Nintendo Switch is absolutely going to dominate 2019. It is going to be an absolute insane year for the Nintendo Switch, and I can't wait because I'm looking forward to playing all these games and reviewing all these games and talking about all these games. It's definitely a very exciting time for Nintendo Switch owners. Year 3 is going to be absolutely amazing. We've seen so many surprises so far, and I think we've just scratched the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the Nintendo Switch, because 2019 is going to be absolutely crazy. So let me know in the comments section down below what you feel, how you feel about Nintendo Switch in 2019. Do you think it's going to absolutely kick ass, or do you potentially see some problems? And as always, thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next video. Later.